Yo. Hi, you're with Scott. Got that right, didn't I? Yeah. Hi, you're with Scott. This is... Hi, you're with Scott. This is Battery Exhausted, my channel. It's midnight. It's always midnight. This is your right ear and your left ear. Hi, you're with Scott. I'm also Ganji Kid. This is the stream. And today we are doing... it's MC Strafe. MC Strafe, which way did you say was safe to behave in public? Which fork should I stick your eye with? MC Strafe. That's also me. Yeah, let's pop you out. Pop you out, capital K. And it doesn't work straight away. How is that? Why is that? Why did you disappear? Oh no, you're here now. You're here now. MC Strafe. I'm going to keep checking the chat today to see it still works. And I've set the stream up to just fire out at 60 kilobytes a second. We've eradicated the problems. Spent all day yesterday doing speed tests, and closing and opening things, turning it off and on again, plugging out and unplugging things. Went out, smoked a cigarette, came back in. Don't talk about smoking; it's naughty. And then, it works. I don't know how it works. Don't know why it works. It just works. So we're going to accept that and move on. But we didn't. I don't know what I did. I don't know what I did to correct it. So if it does it again, I don't know what I'm going to have to do to fix it. But it's one of them things. Thank you for being an official Big Valley stan. Big Valley being the band that I do everything myself. I write and record all the parts. Some of the drums are electronically produced. Some of them are actually banged on a drum kit. But yeah, I love making music, and I always thought I'd want to be a musician. But the world of popular music's not that easy, is it, to make into a career? So just still do it for fun. What have we got today? Look, boom. We've got these artworks that we're going to look at, and they lead into the Bronze Age. These are all the artworks, the big artworks of the Neolithic period. So it's the end of the Neolithic and the start of the Bronze Age. And although I'm promising the Bronze Age, it's still quite a lot to get through before we hit the Bronze Age. But that's what we want to do today. And then probably get to Ram in a Thicket, which we talked about last week. Ram in a Thicket. That's where we want to get to today. Other things that I also have to do is I really should finish off the schizophrenia video from Monday. There was just a little bit I wanted to talk about regarding... I'm just looking at my old notes. Going about medications. Yeah, I don't think we covered medication and biology. Medication, biology, treatments, stigma. So we've still got some to finish for the Mental Health Monday, and we'll see if we get to do that. Maybe we should do it first. I don't know. Now let's do art history for a bit. Let's do art history, because that's what I'm feeling like. It's the vibe that I'm flowing with. And then if we move on to the other bit we do, and also I've got a little bit of ASMR that I want to record. I've got an idea for an ASMR short, so it might be that at the end we do some ASMR and mental health. But for now, for the start, should we crack straight on? I'm moving chat around and clicking it to make sure it's working. It looks like it's working to me. It looks like it. Move that up like that. We've got our legend capital K in chat. So we're away. Okay, our first artwork, we've been looking at Neolithic. These are other famous artworks from the Neolithic period. So this is pre-Bronze Age. This is 7,000 years ago, the Jiahu carving. So let's have a look at these. Copy, Ecosia, plant some trees, paste. Look at that, we've planted 570 trees already, just through doing this. Images. And we won't worry about copyright, because these things are so old that any copyright's got to be a bit of a taking them. Are you kidding me? Look, I mean, look at Soft stone, I imagine, capable of carving a soft stone like that. But interesting detail and style. These shaped figurines, just shapes. They're objects. Some sort of process is taking place. Some sort of technical process. Really interesting. I bet you could study that for a lifetime, those 7,000-year-old carvings. But this is what I find amazing as well. Look at these. Wings of Freedom, Chinese flutes. I don't know, look. That's not thousands of years old, but that is. So they were carving flutes. They were playing music. Wow. Because some objects, you just, like a bowl or an object, like some of the ornamental objects we've seen, like that carving of a hyena that looked like a rat. They're just objects. You don't know exactly how they were appreciated, what they did with them. But there's no doubt in your mind, is there, that this was built to be played. It's a flute. They toodle on the old flute, didn't they? The sound of ancient Japan. Wow. Piping over 9,000 years. It's a bone flute, so it's not vegan. But wow. I mean, I'm impressed. And for it to have survived a piece of bone from 7,000 years ago. And for them to have worked it out as well. How would you work out where the holes go and the difference in the space? And it's quite a complex thing. Wow. I'm impressed. These are the other websites that I've got up for today. Look, bronze art. We're going to get to that. Bronze age, bronze. But before we get to it, next is the Coldstream burial stone, 6,000 years old. Oh no, these are turquoise carvings. I haven't seen those. And blown flutes. So let's have a look for these turquoise as well. Turquoise. No, he didn't like that on Wikipedia. On Coldstream burial stone. Let's have a look. Copy. So this one's come from South Africa. Oh, those were Chinese flutes, not Japanese. Chinese flutes. Chinese flute, eh? This next one is from South Africa. Wow. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the size of it. Don't know how big it is, but again, they've gone for these sort of roundy figures, haven't they? Have you heard about the booba and the kaka? Have you ever heard about the booba and the kaka? I'm just going to come back to chat and move it. Jiggle it and move it. Close it and open it again. See if it changes it. Pop it out. I'm going to have to maintain my, I have to keep looking at chat just in case, because we don't want to miss it like we did the other day. I thought that was rude of me to have someone talking and I missed it. That was rude. But yeah, they've got these. They've got hooks for heads or something. Strange, or are they hoods? Strange heads. The Coldstream stone. These other stones are from the Coldstream Guards, so they're not the ones that they're talking about. But this is the Coldstream burial stone, the big roundy oval one. And then there's loads of the Coldstream Guards. So we're just going to Pinterest, Wikipedia, okay. So this one is Wikipedia. And we can wiki it up. It's 3 figures in red, black and white. The central figure appears to be carrying a bow and hunting arrows. And a feather and pallet. Bow, hunting arrows, feather and pallet. Hunter-gatherers were the producers of these things. They think it might have been medicine men performing a trance to enter the supernatural world. The stone's well preserved. South African rock paintings and engravings often combine geometric forms with images of humans and animals. Really interesting stuff. And I just wanted to show you the difference between a booba and a kaka before we go on, because this is interesting as well. Nope. Maybe I might have to big face this for a second. Let's big face me. Hi Mbibs. It's nice to see you again. We've now got the crew on the roll in the chat room. We've got the crew. Big face me. That's the wrong one. Big face me. There we go. Got the crew in the chat room now. We're building up our... I was watching a program about pirates the other day, and we're like pirates, aren't we? Sailing on this strange ship of ours. Egalitarian. Pirates had a democracy on board. Everyone got a vote. We're egalitarian. We're equals. You like the punch out? Thanks. It's unlisted in terms of advertising. It's banned from advertising because it's talking about racism, and YouTube doesn't like that. So if we want it to be shared and popularised, then we have to share it and popularise it. YouTube's not helping. I want to find you a booba and a caca, and I want to show you the difference. This is going to happen quickly because I'm trying to not spend forever and not get up to the Bronze Age today. So booba, caca, come on. This is quite a popular thing. So it shouldn't be hard to... No, I can't. There we go. I found it. Right. We're going to come back to the web browser. Pachung. So you can see these images here that I've got now in the middle. Yeah, the advertisers don't like anything that is like slightly... You know, if it was up to them, then you wouldn't have any culture. You'd just have morons and zombies repeating the same tired inanity so they can sell things back to each other. Anyway, look, the booba and the kaka, the kiki, that's why I've got it wrong, the kiki. These are two shapes. One of them is a booba and one of them is a kiki. Now, it's up to you to decide which is which. I'm pretty sure you'll instinctively have a feeling, won't you, which one's the booba and which one's the kiki. And that's because we've studied this and all about it. It doesn't matter what language you speak even. It doesn't even matter what language. American undergraduates and Tamil speakers in India, you automatically want the sharper shape to be the kiki. You recognise the sharpness in the image, those angles, with the sharpness in your alliteration. Kiki. And the booba sounds soft and booba. Sounds soft and squidgily, and you've automatically associated that with the soft, roundy shape. Now, it may be that we name things in our world softer, roundy words because of this connection. You know, it maybe that's part of it. But it's something eternal that we naturally do. Again, a way we naturally respond to art without realising it is to see certain things in such a way that when we represent them in language, we veer towards a style and sound. It's weird, isn't it? So they're boobas and cacas. That's what they are. And I wanted to show you them because I feel these figures have a booba sort of quality. They're roundy instead of being angular on the Coldstream stone. Let's move that so you can see it. Otherwise there's no point in talking to you about it, is there? The caca. The booba. So that's some 7,000-year-old stone from South Africa. 7,000 years. Next, we've got the seated woman of Catalhuyuk. Turkish terracotta sculpture copy. Let's have a look. Not Google. We don't want Google. F off your Google. We like looking at it on Ecosia. We plant trees every time we have a little look. We plant a little tree, look, up there in the top right, 527, that's 500 trees we've planted. Well, not me personally, but I've contributed to the planting. We all did it together on stream, we're a team. We're a pirate Ganji warrior Puko crew. And we're looking at the seated woman. Bloody hell. Sorry for swearing. But, you know, we're talking about this same period of time, these thousands. This is obviously one of these Venus style. It's got some fertility aspect about it, hasn't it? But look, there's another one here. Look, this one. That's so basic. Catalhuyuk seated figure. So basic. Carved in jade, that looks like. But, you know, that's the sort of thing we expect to see when we're talking about these cave people, because they lived in caves. They didn't have, they were very first kind of settlers, the very first people to decide to settle. But some of them were producing extraordinary pieces of art like this. I think what's so extraordinary is it seems to have all these different biological, shape. Like it's got the legs, it's got the tummy, the womb, it's got the boobies, it's got the shoulders, the arms. Then there's these lion heads, tiger heads as part of the seat. The fact that she's seated may have been just a product of the production process. There's another one. This one's broken. It's separate in parts. So maybe they produced it in separate parts, or maybe this was one big piece of rock and it was easier to create seated, but maybe it implied something. Maybe it was, implied the... some religions think of God on a throne. Maybe, the female deity, the Mother Earth, sat on the throne, something like that. Very interesting, isn't it? And you imagine that it would have had more detail back in the day and that some of it's probably eroded and worn away. But what a piece. Probably the most complex, other than the cave paintings and the engravings on the walls, probably the most complex piece of art that we've seen so far. And loaded with significance and meaning. Absolutely loaded with significance and meaning. That wasn't just an image, was it? It wasn't just because... Well, maybe it was, maybe that was someone's grand. Maybe it was the tribal leader. Maybe it was the queen. Maybe it was just a decorative ornament. But to me, it feels loaded with significance. Those tiger heads, the lion heads, whatever they are. The throne, the seats, Because back then they didn't have armchairs, did they? They weren't watching the telly. There's more to it as well from the side view. You can see there's more shape to it, implying they're the shape of the lions and stuff. Or are they dogs? Are they dogs? That's fantastic, isn't it? 6,500 years ago, just before we get onto the Bronze Age, we've got the seated woman. We're whipping through these because we want to see some Bronze Age as well today. We're pushing into the Bronze Age here with this Egyptian. And remember we said last time that the Egyptians were one of the first... Whoa. Didn't expect this, did you? Did not expect those scary eyes. I was going to say, the Egyptians were one of the first civilizations to settle, to establish a civilization, to become important, to leave a record, to not be nomadic. So these first early important civilizations occur and leave us a lot more record, leave us a lot more things that we can dig up and look at. But this oldest woman with blue eyes, this is one of the oldest Egyptian figures. It's not like the others that you recognise, is it? Like these Tutankhamun-y headdressy. That's the Lion of Chanera, portrait of a Maltese king. But this early Egyptian one is just so rudimentary. It's like a piece of stick or bone, possibly ivory. I'll find out in a second. And ancient Afghanistan, this says, it's been like stenciled, punctured to create this image. I don't know if those punctures are supposed to be a covering or hair or implication of something like the eggs of the woman in the womb, or I don't know. But all these punctures, then these blue eyes, these scary blue eyes, these staring blue eyes. It's a bone figurine. Bone. I wonder if those punctuations, those holes, are anything to do with those punctures, or anything to do with the style of carving those cupules that we looked at before. Someone sat there making carvings, little holes. Maybe they've progressed on in their style and form. I don't know. It's very, very hard to know. Look, there's more of them. Can we make this bigger for you? I probably can, but with some struggle. There we go, it's a bit bigger. Look at them. I mean, some of them look alien, don't they? You know, if you presented these today in a gallery, said, I've got these figures I'd like to show you, then people would say, what are they supposed to be? Like something from a head shop. I'm not going to make any jokes about... I've got loads of jokes popping off in my head now about smoking, but I'm not allowed to because we're on Twitch. So, Twitch. But there we go, look, a bone figure. A bone figure. Where did they get the blue? Why the blue? Why the blue? Maybe they knew someone who had beautiful blue eyes, and that's the best they could do at recreating them. But that was Egypt, even. Egyptian. Old. Very different from this curvy and voluptuous image, isn't it? Very different. The Egyptian, very straight. I mean, the bones probably restricted the shape of the... I mean, it has got curve, hasn't it? It has got that feminine curve to the hips, but very hard to know what they were driving at, really, isn't it? Very hard to know. And to what purpose, again? Why did they have it? What were they doing with it? Persian oh, here we go. Move it so you can see it. Chalcolithic. Chalcolic. That was after the aliens landed into the pyramid. I always thought the aliens just needed the pyramids to fuel up their spaceships so they could fly off again. Like a big battery charger. I joke, but, you know, Tesla probably discovered that, or something. We'll move up to that in history. You know, we'll get through all of the history and all of the art, and we'll discover the pyramids at some point, I'm sure. Persian Chal could copy that. Let's have a look. Let's have a look at your Persian stone, kids. Get me hat on. Get me Johnny Depp hat on. Johnny Depp. Hey, kids. Ooh. Hey, kids. Do you want to have a look at my Persian chocolithic pottery, kids? You have to get in the back of the van. This is Persian chalcolithic. Chal? I don't know what chalcolithic means, but these are more what you would expect in a way, aren't they? Even though, to be fair, the shapes of these pots are not easy to produce. You know, the big curve, the inward curve, it might collapse. It's not that easy to produce. Done by hand, of course. Cup period, chalcolithic date, 3005. So this is approaching Bronze Age, but decorated as well. I mean, and the beautiful, almost modern decoration that is. If you did that today, it would fit in, wouldn't it? People wouldn't be surprised even by someone producing that on a computer, that silhouette of the goat, the stylized horns. Very interesting. Mountain goats, ibex, and it's just a functional item like a jar. You know, something they would have used day to day. Wow. And incredible that thousands of years later, like literally 5,000 years later, we can just dig that up and have a look at it. And this is where it starts. This is where the arts starts. And it's really important to note, actually, that a lot of this, obviously we did just type in pottery, so we are looking at pottery, but a lot of these items, these art items, are not paintings, are they? They're painted, they're decorated, but they're not paintings. Of course, art style has been influenced by the ability to create, like, if you don't have a canvas and paintbrushes, you can't. I'm still wearing the Johnny Depp hat, hang on. If you don't have a canvas and paint and how would Johnny Depp say it? If you don't have a canvas, come here, Amber. Right, anyway, look, we'll take off the Johnny Depp hat until it's more appropriate. Yeah, like, what was I saying? I don't know what I'm saying anymore. I was saying basically that these items weren't paintings. Yeah, that was it. But today, when you talk about art, if you said to someone, "Oh, I'm an artist," they're like, "Oh, what do you paint?" And like, "Let me see a painting." You assume today people have got this funny idea that being an artist means that you're really good at detailed painting. For a while they didn't have photographs, they had no cameras. So if you wanted to show someone something, you had to paint an image of it. I get it. You had to be a really good draftsman, a really good. My uncle was a draftsman. He drew architectural plans on it very accurately before computers. Very accurate drawing, no mistakes. With the protractors and rulers, and he had a big desk and all these rulers on it. Yeah, really interesting. But is it art? There's a craft to it, there's an art to it, of course, but is it art? I mean, yeah, but not in the fine art sense that we're talking about. And the ability to reproduce faithfully an image from memory or real life, to paint it perfectly like a photograph. I used to be in an art society, and there were some people there who could really faithfully reproduce real life like a photograph. But why do we need that? We've got photographs. I've got a couple of lovely paintings that are very realistic and lifelike of our dogs. But the thing I like most about them is they're not real photographs, that they have this element of artistry in them. There's a bit of the voice of the artist in the way they've painted it and things like that. There's some movement in the brushstrokes. So there is something special that can come from painting it. But if you're just going to paint it exactly like a photograph, if that's what you think the best artist is, someone who can reproduce image, it's not. I mean, that's a modern idea, like I'm saying. It's a funny idea that seems to have taken over people's idea of what a good artist should be. It sits high in their mind, being able to draw things well. But that's not what it is. That's not what it is. This person who produced this goat, that's fantastic, isn't it? Art. They couldn't, or maybe they could and didn't reproduce faithfully and accurately an image of an ibex, but it's so much more artistic, and it's 7,000 years old. Like I said, you could do that today. You could start today as an artist with that as your style, and be taken absolutely accepted in the world as a modern designer. Couldn't you? And yet, it's just not modern. Just not modern. It's like 5,000 years old. Wow. Okay, next. The Thinker of Cern. At some point in art history, they're going to start just using normal words, and I'll be able to say them out loud. Is it Cernavoda? Romanian, so I don't know what the Romanian accent's supposed to be like. It could be Kernavoda. I think Romania is Germanic or Slavic, isn't it? Cernavoda, Kernavoda. Certainly Latin would have been a hard C. Kernavoda. Anyway, look, we're not a linguistic pronunciation channel, are we? Thank effing God, because otherwise I'd be in trouble. Let's paste that. Let's have a look at your Thinker. Ooh. Hello. What's happened to you? What's happened to you? I mean, wow. It's so amazing. It's got so much, like, when I say so much, I mean like so much. It speaks so strongly of human emotion. Unlike some of the others, you feel this, even though it's the least accurate human figure, the neck being so. Another sitting woman. We have another sitting woman, and they've assumed this is a woman probably because of these wide hips and birthing area. But these funny necks, haven't they? They've got these funny necks. Why have they chosen to do these funny necks? Who can say? Is it an art style? Is it something that's happened because of the object that it's carved from? Is it a property of the object that it had this funny shape and they just put the head on? Or did they see long necks as beautiful? And so they've tried to carve something that is their version of beauty. We won't know. We can't know. They're Romanian, so they've been found in a different part of the world. I don't think they're very big. I can't tell. In all these pictures, they should just stick a ruler in with it, shouldn't they? Or a cigarette lighter or something that you recognise so you can see how big they are. But again, 4,000 years old. Really, I mean, again, if you produced that, if you went to art college, if no one had seen this before, and you went to art college and you spent 2 years at art college, and at the end of it, you were producing works like this, they'd put them in a gallery and call you modern. They'd call you modern, wouldn't they? They'd say that you've got a unique and individual take on human form and that you were expressing something. Like he's sitting on a little stool, that one. He's on a little chair. But just by positioning the figure in such a way, and the arms and the shoulders are abstract, aren't they? That's the word I'm looking for, abstract. They don't seem to fit right. They're not real, and our hands are not like those little paws. But it doesn't matter. You see the emotion. Like maybe it's positive, maybe it's negative, maybe they're thinking they're unhappy, maybe they're not. Maybe they had hair. Back in the day, rocks like this could have been adorned with other things, couldn't they? Like feathers and hair to make them look more interesting, and they would have just withered away with the years, but the rocks would have stayed. So I don't know, maybe those necks were used for something. Maybe they had more adornment around the neck, like a ruff or something like that. Maybe they looked like a lion with all the fur and hair on them. Or maybe they were used for storing something on those necks. Maybe it was a pretty item that you hung your headdress on at night. I don't know, but certainly it provokes a feeling of humanity, of common. You feel there's something that you can connect with, that you understand about being human. Yeah, that's incredible. That's incredible. That's the Thinker of Cern. And so far, I thought, as we worked through these other famous works from the Neolithic period, I thought we were just going to get like these Venuses and very basic things. But so far, we're getting a real wide variety of abstract and interesting expression. The fish god. This should be a good one. Do you see what I mean? There's our variety. What's going on here? I'm just going to have to find out about Lipinski Burr. And let's just find out about the whole thing. Web it. Let's not use Wikipedia this time. Let's use something else. Wikipedia. Art. Fish Goddess of Lipinski Burr by Lydia. Oh, this is somebody else's art of the art. The fish goddess of Lipinski Burr was placed on the altar at the end of a stone structure. She combines fish, woman, and bird of prey, all symbols of the goddess of birth, death, and regeneration. The large stone sculptures were found in triangular trapezoid shrines shaped like the Mother Mountain across the Danube River in the Iron Gate region. Similar images, known as Shilananigs, are found around the world. So these are relatively common. There's Slavic oral tradition, a fish goddess who was a woman, a fish, and a bird of prey all at once. They made stone altars, triangular trapezoid altars, and they placed these stones on the altars. So these were really important religious artifacts. They're not very happy, are they? Not very happy about being a god. I suppose if you're part fish, half bird of prey, you're a bit confused, aren't you? And there's something in situ, look, on an altar. In situ is Latin, isn't it, for in place, I think. It's sat there on its altar. So you'd have been wandering about back in these days, and you'd have been able to wander up to your local altar, wouldn't you? You'd have been able to go to see your local god, your local fish, woman, bird god. So this is it's interesting, isn't it, that we start to create these smaller, more unique personal items that you can carry around, these figurines, these Venuses, and the community in this area decides that they want like they've seen cave painting by this point. They're aware of the idea of a piece of art that you can all share or that means something to your culture, and they've decided to put in the landscape a stone representation of their god. I don't know if back then they had the sophistication to, did they think this would make the god come real? Was it part of religion that they had some sort of, belief in magic over, or was it simply that they wanted to honour their god by putting up a statue in the same way as we put up statues of things that we respect in society that we can all share so we can look at it and reflect? I wonder if they went up there for celebrations or, like I say, just personally, one by one, during their lives, pop and see the god. I wonder if it was where they went to get married or, take their children. In the same way as we use a church or other, religious iconography to stamp authority on the important times in our life. But whichever way it would have gone, you'd have had these staring eyes of the fish god. Fish woman. Not a mermaid. Not a mermaid. They haven't gone for the tail end, have they? It's interesting as well, isn't it? When we talk about fish women, when we talk about mermaids, they're all beautiful up top, all human up top. Then the bottom half is fishy. Tail and that, fishy. But this way round, they've gone for the top half, haven't they? Fishy face. There's a Siberian fish man. Right. Enough of these fish face people. I hope I've not insulted the gods of ancient Serbia there. I hope I've not. They found those in the Danube settlement in Serbia. Iraqi Samara and Halaf ceramic plates. 5,000 years ago from Iraq. Let's have a look at these next. And when I do, I'll pop them on here and I just need to run and grab something from the kitchen. So let's have a look at these. Wow. I just need to find out, if we're looking at Iraq and Asia and Arabic countries, I do just need to find out about when Islam started, because it was a huge influence on their culture, wasn't it? So I'm going to just ask Google. I'm going to go on Big Face to do it, so you can see my big face. Where's my big face? I don't know how to do my big face no more. There I am. Right. And what am I searching up? Something I've forgotten. Islam start date. And it was 7th century. So that's, 600 BC, AD, 600 AD, after Jesus, isn't it? Yeah. Of course it's after Jesus, because they talk about Jesus in the Quran, don't they? Of course. Okay, so let's go back to the Bronze Age. Plates. Where's me plates? I want me plates! Mother, I need me plates! Starting end screen, web browsing. Web browsing, there we go. So here we've got some plates, some dishes. I shall have a fishy on a little dishy, or a fish-headed god. But incredible, aren't they? Absolutely incredible. This one's got a swastika on it. Couldn't see that, can't see it. This one's got a swastika on it, which obviously wasn't Nazism back then. It was some kind of fertility symbol, I think. But it's so incredible that they're working with these designs and these... that's Mesopotamia. We wanted to get up to Mesopotamia, Bronze Age, didn't we, today? So we're pushing where we need to be today. Sumerian. They're finding... Like, that's simple, but it's geometric, and it's a pattern, and it's repeating. They're finding this... And that's got abstract aspects, but also repeating motifs. They're finding this beauty in pattern. And I imagine they would have produced a lot of bowls. You know, if they're up to this sort of quality, they would have produced quite a few bowls, knocking around day-to-day use bowls. You know, your cereal for when you're having your, I don't know what cereal they would have had back then. Trying to think of a cereal that would be a good pun. An ancient cereal pun. Ancient cereal pun. Yeah, look at that. The chat just... it really annoys me. Did you see it just pop up then? I moved this other window and the chat just boomed. I mean, why? That's not me doing that. That's Twitch's fault. I think it must be something to do with the Mac that I'm using and the multiple windows. But it really bugs me because I think it's really important that we should talk and recognise our crew, you, us together. It's part of it, isn't it? Part of it that we're talking, and it makes me feel like I'm being rude when I'm not answering the chat. But we've got it back now. We've got it back. I mean, I don't know what will happen when we get more people in chat, whether it'll work better or worse. Fair enough. I thank you for no worries in that, but I feel this. You know, I've got high standards for myself and for the quality of media that we want to produce. I'm a bit of a mess, but this doesn't have to be. Do you know what I mean? I'm a bit of a mess, but Twitch could hold their end up. You know, I'm a bit of a mess, but Apple could hold up their end. I spent loads of money on this computer, loads back in the day. I've had it for years, but I still feel that it was a sound investment, but gosh, a lot of money, a lot. Waiting for the riff on my judgment. So I can't, it's impossible for me to judgmental fish god comment. They look a bit yeah, okay, yeah. So the fish god... You're being judged by the fish gods. That's true as well. If that was your god, it would be the thing judging you, wouldn't it? And you'd better hope that you appeased the fish gods, probably by keeping yourself moist at all times. Right, look, we've got this earthenware, and is that the right word? I'm just going to have to type earthenware. I hope it doesn't, when I type this, it doesn't pop up with something horrible and rude. Earthenware. Is that... Yeah, it looks about the same sort of stuff, doesn't it? Pottery. Is it... Earthenware is glazed or unglazed, non-vitreous pottery, fired below 1,200 degrees. So yeah, this would have been earthenware, wouldn't it? Basic stuff. Probably they wouldn't have called it that back then, but... yeah, and what I wanted to show you was... Okay, so now I'm going to have to use my brain about art. It was at the Eden Centre, wasn't it? Eden Art Giant Geometric Cone. I'm going to put cone. Boom. See, get it out of my brain, get it there. I've actually seen this by Peter Randall Page. I've seen, not this, but I've seen a small version. Before they make a big sculpture, they make a small version and they show it, like, you know, when the architects do their little houses and they show people the building, what it looked like. I was fortunate enough to just be passing by a gallery in London, and I saw it in the gallery, this little version of this, and I thought, that's that thing. So I went in and had a look at it. I wasn't allowed to touch it, but I did touch it. And this isn't even seed sculpture by Peter Randall. Okay, Peter Randall seed. Peter. What Peter Randall has done in this sculpture is to utilise, you can see it at the top of the sculpture a lot more, this repeating pattern. This is a natural form. It's found in pine cones and seeds, and that's why it's called the seed structure. It's geometry, isn't it? It's natural geometry, and it's quite beautiful, quite interesting, this form. And it's replicated 7,000 years ago. If I just skip back, 7,000 years ago, they've started to become interested in this same concept, haven't they? They haven't made a giant seed sculpture, but they've started to repeat patterns, and they've started to look at the relationship between patterns and geometry and repeating them. And that becomes a a consistent theme in Islamic culture. Certainly because, and especially because, let's again, chat slowed down again, hasn't it? So, oh, it moved. It moved. What do I need to do to keep chat moving? Is there some button you can press to keep it ticking over? And what will happen? I'll tell you what will happen is that when we get the new PC, which will happen at some stage before August, it will be PC and not Mac, and I'll be able to download the overlays and the things that overlay, and it will just work. So we won't have the problems. But for now, Arabic culture, because in Arabic culture it's like you got to remember that. The people who had the means of production to create art, the people who were given the tools, the paints, these things were expensive back then. They weren't to be thrown around and messed around with by kids in the same way as we do today. So you would have probably had more of the wealthy people in society able to produce art more often, as we start to get into a civilization, a culture, and this isn't so much about this time when there were Stone Age and Bronze Age, but as we progress, and what happened is that those people that had more wealth were able to produce more art, and those people were more consistently connected with religion. Certainly, the Romans and their gods, the Parthenon. In Greece, no, the way is Parthenon's in Rome, isn't it? And the Acropolis in Greece, and these places were temples, and you get my picture. The church in Western Europe, as things progressed, was very rich, and it had lots of money. So you've got all these artworks in church. Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel is all related to the church. So with Arabic and Islamic culture, again, the church, is it called the church? Islam? Doesn't matter. The religious group, the Muslims had a lot more. I don't want to say wealth. They had a lot more means of production anyway. They had a lot more, ability to produce art. So they did, and the art that survived is going to be in their style. And the point I was trying to drive at and make is that in the Islamic culture, drawing pictures of Muhammad, peace be upon him, wasallam, is it's frowned upon. You don't draw pictures, and you certainly don't draw pictures of Allah. So, in the same way as our culture has. The doggy's doing some digging on the carpet. Don't dig the carpet, son. In the same way as our culture's got a lot of images from religious perspectives of Jesus and Mary, and that's formed our styles and choices in art, because the main people, doggy, please don't keep digging. The main people like Michelangelo, and people like that were doing these big things that everyone could see, and then they were getting paid money by the church, and that it pushed art in a certain direction. Whereas in the Arabic culture and other cultures, art was pushed in different directions for different reasons. And they used a lot more pattern. They were a lot more interested in geometry. Islam and the Arabic nomadic peoples developed maths a lot earlier than the Western world. And so maybe this was the early stages of their thinking about mathematics in shape and form and style. But really interesting to see that drastic contrast between the art of... I don't know how many of these are old down here, so I'm not going to select all of these. But look at that, that's just a piece. Just a piece of a really interesting, repeating, abstract pattern. So they were much more interested in patterns and design and this repetition of design than they were of these shapes and figures. Really interesting to me, that is. I find that interesting. Dabus giraffe engravings. Saharan rock. Rock in the Sahara, man. Rock in the Sahara. So I don't know how deserty it would have been. I don't know how, hot and all that. But wow. That's Niger in Africa. Look at that. There's some people for context, so you can see how big it is. Quite big, but not vast. But that's survived, hasn't it? What an interesting concept to be carving it out of the rock like that. In the Sahara, in the heat. And of course, a totally different part of the world, and so a totally different style of art, influenced by a totally different set of surroundings. The rock on the ground, the animals walking by. Incredible. I wonder if they would have done anything with it, if they would have poured water over it, or sand, or, I wonder if they'd have painted it, or... It's just incredible, isn't it? It's a part of the landscape. They've really got that giraffe down as well, haven't they? They've really got that, the long neck, the features that we recognise, and that design, that pattern across the body. Really good, isn't it? It's really good. Couldn't load that one. It makes you wonder as well. I know that we do graffiti and things like that these days, but rock art really has died out, hasn't it? It really seems to. We do sculpture and stone, but the carving into the rock seems to have died out. Wow, we're still not up to Bronze Age though. This is approaching the Bronze Age. That's a petroglyph. We know a petroglyph, but I'm going to repeat it one more time, is petra, meaning the earth, and glyph meaning carved or scratched or something. Giraffes. These are more... They've just gone with that. It's weird, isn't it? They've realised that you can create squares by doing a grid. You don't have to do each square one at a time. But that is just incredible, in my opinion. Not that you can see it well there. Couldn't see that one either. It's the fact that it's in relief, isn't it? It's been carved out of the rock and it's still there. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Big fan. I didn't go and get my thing from the kitchen. Hang on. What are we up to now? Let's have a look at our next one. Valdiva figurines, 4,000 years ago. These are the first representational images in the Americas. So these are your first American art images that represent people we're about to see. The first. Whoa. Again, it blows my mind that in these early stages of art development, we're going for similar ideals, similar ideas. We're going to make a figure. We're going to make an object, a person or a figure, but with such drastically differing styles. They've included the head on this. This one's got two heads. I've got no idea why. But like those other Venuses, they're so rudimentary and simple in the form of the face that it almost seems not to matter. They've gone for that big head, the big hat thing as well, that we've seen in other figurines, but really simple, really rudimentary. Just a little face. Little figure. Were they children's toys? Were they intended for children? But back then they would have been quite sophisticated art, wouldn't they? So maybe not. A little bit of character in there as well, isn't there? There's a little bit of personality in them. Not a lot. Not a lot. But there you go. Pig dragon. A pig dragon. This has been found in northeast China in a tomb. And we do know that the Chinese and the Asian cultures were a little bit advanced in terms of art, a little bit more advanced than the rest of the world. But look at that. Seems like it would have been functional. Seems like it might have been some sort of fastener or, like clothing fastening device. A pig dragon? Why a pig dragon? Carved out of jades and crystals. There's a lot of them. They're different. So it would have been an item or a piece of something that many people would have. They're not. It's not just a one-off. Is what I'm saying. There was quite a few. Quite a common item. Ancient Ted. So that's not actually ancient, is it? Or it might be ancient. I don't know. Oh, I wonder if you can buy it on eBay. Right. We're going to find out if we can afford to buy something ancient on the internet in a second. But before we do, I'm just going to get a nice picture up for you to. That was a pig dragon pendant. Oh, pendant, of course. Pendant, yeah. That's why it's got those holes in it. And then we've hit the Bronze Age, ram in a thicket. So somehow, we go from all that to ram in a thicket. Where's me? This one. Ram in a thicket. Somehow we make this jump as humanity. And that's a complex, golden, beautiful artistic piece. Again, if you made it today, you'd be called modern. So somehow we made that jump from carving up little bits of stone to producing extraordinary golden items with detail and poise, meaning, significance. How and why? Why is the ram stood up? Why is he stood up like that? Is it just because he needs to be holding on to that thicket? And interesting that the ram caught in the thicket is part of the religious story that we recognise as being Christianity, as the Abrahamic religions. So all of the Abrahamic religions, whether you're Jewish, Islamic, or Christian, they all believe that Abraham was was one of the first prophets, and then his children. This is why you've got Judaism and Islam and Christianity. Is that his children went off and formed different cultures, and they became these other cultures. So whilst Christians believe Jesus is a prophet, they also believe that before Jesus, that Moses was a prophet and Abraham was a prophet. So they go back to the same root. They just diverge when Jesus comes. The Jews don't believe Jesus was a prophet, but the Christians do. And then later on, there's another divergence when Muhammad, peace be upon him, is another prophet and diverges from, again. But it's thought that the bloodline, this line of David, they all go back to the same descent from the same descendants, and the way they split, I can't get this right off the top of my head, but one brother Solomon, one brother is it Saul? The different lines went different ways, but they are part of Abraham's children. They're all children of Abraham. So this ram in the thicket, this idea that it was Abraham, wasn't it, who God said to kill your son, and when he was going to sacrifice his son, God said wait, and there was a ram in a thicket, and he sacrificed that instead. And it's all part of the religious founding story, isn't it? So maybe that's why this ram in a thicket is so symbolic and important. Some of these images here down here are about Christ and things, so it's symbolic of religion, isn't it? The ram in the thicket. But isn't it interesting to note that they haven't, there was also the story of the burning bush where God spoke from a burning bush, but they haven't decided to go for God and the burning bush. They've decided to go for the ram. The ram is not God. It's not. Do you know what I mean? The ram is not the part of the story that's thought you would celebrate in gold. Does that make sense? Doesn't it? The God bit is the good bit, isn't it? No, it's not the same ram, is it? Is it? I don't know. It looks like this is in the British Museum, so it looks like we might be able to visit it one day. That'd be mad, wouldn't it? Let's just quickly see if chat is just buggering up. Okay, I'm moving it, I'm touching it, I'm touching the chat now, I'm moving it, and nothing's changed, so it should be okay. I'm going to type something. I'm just going to type hello just to check it works. Yeah, it works, look. Okay, right. You can look at Ramming a Thicket for 2 minutes while I just pop to the kitchen and grab something. It literally will be just seconds. Just seconds. Right. I'm not going to eat on stream. Hi Cheryl, how are you doing? I'm not going to eat on stream because I don't think it's polite to eat in front of you and like in the microphone and all that. But I might take a sort of 15-minute pause in a minute just to eat something. But I don't know what the etiquette is on stream. I don't know what the correct thing to do. I don't know whether you're supposed to just leave it running with a little "I'm coming back in a minute" sign, or if you're supposed to close down and reopen stream again when you want to. I don't know what the etiquette is, because I see these people, they're on like 8 hours a day, and that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to make shorter but more valuable, content, rather than just being on 8 hours a day and just saying nothing while I play Grand Theft Auto, and then occasionally popping out with some random idea into chat, or being one of these constant, all like, you watch me and I'm always like this, click 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 click. Like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to zombify myself on stream. I always want to make it fun, interesting, and I always want to make our time together valuable. And if I'm wasting my time by just playing hours and hours and hours, not wasting my time, obviously, because it's fun to play video games. I'm not suggesting that we're wasting our time playing games. But if I do that, then those hours are not spent researching and learning and preparing our next episode, are they? So that's what we're going to go for here. Is going to go for shorter streams with higher quality of content packed in. That's the idea. And maybe during them I might want to take a break. So I don't know what the schedule, the etiquette is, but I will find out in a minute when I take a break and find out how people respond to it. But first of all, I wanted to find out a little bit more about Ramming a Thicket, because we've got up to it now. So let's talk about the Bronze Age. Let's move this around so it's smaller. Oi. You can't even get the corner. Can I just do this? Control F. Yeah, there you go. Moving that around. This is Wikipedia. Wikipedia, of course, is all the information. And of course, it's the real information because it can be changed by anyone at any time. But honestly, it's strange that even though Wikipedia has a bit of a bad name in that it might not be accurate because anyone can just put any old thing in there, it actually turns out to be more accurate most of the time, doesn't it? Because it's regulated in that open forum. So the Bronze Age was a prehistoric period that was characterised by the use of bronze. Well, no shit. Bronze is an alloy consisting primarily of copper and tin, other metals. How on earth did they start crafting bronze? They had proto-writing and urban civilization, early features of urban civilization. Oh, there's your pyramids. They're Bronze Age. I never thought pyramids were Bronze Age. Never thought about that. But I suppose it makes sense now. You just think of them as their own thing, don't you? Egypt, the pyramids. You think of them as their own part of history. Well, I do anyway. But it turns out that they are part of the Bronze Age. And this is when we started to settle down as people, to where we started to form our first homes. Because until then, we'd been nomadic. So that would have been incredible, wouldn't it? Saying to somebody, look, I know that this is how we've always done it, and how my granddad's done it, and how our granddad's granddad's done it, and our mother's mothers, and our mother's mother's mothers. But maybe we should just ditch the camels and stay here. Maybe we should just stop moving from place to place, because every time we do, things get a little more stretched. Maybe we should stay here. Wow. And then the concepts, like I said last time, that we wouldn't have had a word for home, really, would you? Because you'd be moving all the time. Then all of a sudden you've got your first home, and you've got your reason to cultivate the land and to learn. 3 Stone Age bronze iron system as proposed in the classifying studying age. An ancient civilization. Oh, I've accidentally clicked on arsenic. They're defined to be in the Bronze Age because they either produce bronze or they smelt their own copper, tin, arsenic, or other metals. They trade for bronze, and bronze is harder and more durable than other metals, allowing them to get a technological advantage. Terrestrial iron is naturally abundant. Its high melting point placed it out of reach of common use. Tin melts at 231 centigrade, and copper relatively moderate of 1,000 degrees centigrade, 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. It placed them in the capabilities of Neolithic pottery kilns. So they basically built a big stone igloo, put a massive fire in there, chucked in the metal. I mean, how on earth did they realise? They'd have to have found these. They were obviously abundant, it said. Probably washed up through the. I mean, again, I'm not. We'll talk another time about where bronze came from. I'm not an expert on metallurgy, but I imagine that these metals would have been pushed through the earth, through tectonic systems, through rivers, and you'd have found them in riverbeds. These nuggets, a bit like people look for gold, and then you'd have had this strange rock in your possession, and at some point decided to melt it to 2,000 degrees C, to as hot as you could. Discovered it melted, and then discovered that once it had, maybe they put something on the fire, and when the fire was, died, and they were messing around with the charcoal, they found this melted piece of metal and discovered it, reformed, reset, as it called. Don't know. That's what the Bronze Age is. It's typified by the fact they're trading in bronze, they can melt the metal, they're finding and melting metals, and they're using them to get a technological advantage. It includes the East, Anatolia, Syria, that is, Mesopotamia, Egypt. So Egypt is a big player in the Bronze Age. Levant, Mesopotamia, Asia. Of course, it includes everywhere because it was going on all over the world, wasn't it? So really interesting. Again, the Asians, other parts of the world, you're doing basic stuff, and the Asians are creating interesting, abstract, decorative pieces that seem to be streets ahead. Spring and autumn period. 700 years before Christ. They've got more records as well in China. We'll look at that. It's something we're going to have to do, isn't it? We're going to have to decide how we're going to get through the different... Because we're going to do all the history, but should we do the Chinese history at the same time as the Asian and the African and the European history? Or should we do one continent all the way to the end? And then I think we'll do it by time, won't we? And we'll look over here and over here and over there, and we'll miss things, and we'll have to come back. So that's how it is. Korea. The Koreans have got their own Bronze Age culture. Really interesting. Got their own Bronze Age artifacts. Japan. Indus Valley, Thailand. It's all over the world, look. All over the world. They're all experimenting with metals. 3200 BC, the Aegeans. They had a trade network. So it's part of their trade network that was spreading it around Europe. Copper was mined. Oh, it was mined. It was literally mined. Wow. Imagine that, a mine 3,000 years before Christ. This gold mask of Agamemnon was produced during the mine. You can read that. I'm just going to pop and make a cup of tea, and I'll be back in literally 3 minutes. So I'm not going anywhere. You can look at that gold mask. Who does that look like? Why are his eyes so puffy? Just get the tea. Aha! See, I told you it wouldn't be long. Not long. He don't go long. So let's just move the Twitch chat around, see that it's still working. See, look at it go. I'm so sorry that that the Twitch chat does this to me. We're gonna have to find out why. Why do I have to find out and fix all these different issues? Seems a bit unfair, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm alright, It's good to know that you're good. So far, we've seen quite a few. What's your favourite so far? What's your favourite? These prehistoric, these Neolithic Bronze Age. I wonder if anyone would have worn that. I bet they would have done, wouldn't they? Bet they would have worn it. The main boss. What's been your favourite so far? Art from the Bronze Age, an important period linking the Stone Age with the Iron Age, was a reflection of the environment at the time. The Bronze Age was characterised by the production of the metal bronze, an alloy of copper and tin, the development of a wide range of functional and precious metalwork, and an increase in economic productivity, and the consequential... Blimey, they love the words here, don't they? The development of a wide range of functional and economic... and an increase... and the consequent emergence of skilled workers, many of whom were involved in artistic activity. So artists now emerge for the first time in the world. You've had someone in the tribe or a member of the community that does more artistic stuff. You know, you've had some people that are more into their bowl making, but up until this point, there would have also been another member of the community, wouldn't they? They'd have had other roles, but now, you know, you'd have been a member of the tribe, and you would have also made some art. But now, in the Bronze Age, 3,000 years before Christ, you have the emergence of skilled workers, somebody who spends their whole day making bowls, somebody who's only interested in metalwork, who is a specialist. And so the emergence of artistic activity, it says here, albeit of a semi-functional nature, most of the items would have still served a use and a purpose. They wouldn't have just been for the sake of the art. Although, as we've seen, some of the items were very clearly purely artistic. Ornamental and decorative designs on helmets, body armour, swords, axe heads and other weapons became more widespread. So interesting as well that we're not focusing strongly on the the conflicts of these times, but the fact they wore body armor, had swords, axes, they were warrior peoples, and they decided at this time to adorn these items, these functional items, with art, whether it was a connection with the spiritual to give them luck, or simply aesthetic. Maybe they thought it looked better with these things. They decided to spread the art onto objects that performed function. So this implies they probably had a bit more free time. If you've got time to scratch designs on your sword, you're not using it to stab people all the time, are you? So, really interesting the way humanity is changing at this time. I'm going to do the Twitch chat pop again to make it pop and see if it changes. There's the Twitch chat back. Ceramic designs. Oop, I pressed ceramic by accident. There's some. What are they? They're terracotta soldiers, aren't they? Oh, I pressed back again. This is me working the internet. Now we're on ceramics. Didn't want ceramics. I've lost my Bronze Age art. Where's my Bronze Age art? Right, here we are. Ceramic designs became more elegant, and also a new range of ceremonial religious artifacts. Forget Nike. Nike can F off. They have nothing to offer you. Nike just offer you the same clothing that you can buy from anyone else, but just with Nike written on it. So you pay them to advertise their product, and it's not even special. It's just a T-shirt. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Talking of that, have you seen my jacket today? Have you seen me Attack on Titan hoodie? Me hoodie? Have you seen me hoodie? What was I doing? Yeah, a new range of ceremonial religious artifacts and artworks began to emerge. Also, late prehistoric sculpture blossomed, taking full advantage of bronze casting methods. So that's interesting as well, isn't it? They've discovered this concept of casting, of melting metal, pouring it into a mould, letting it set, and there you go. You've got your item, whether it be a sword or a bowl or something functional. And then members of the community have said, look, I want to play with this. The metal's valuable. The items are valuable. We're using this for our functional items in society, but I just want to play with it and make something interesting or pretty or abstract, like that monumental bronze head overlaid with gold foil. That's a Chinese masterpiece there on the left-hand side. And that's been okay. That's been met with not derision. The rest of the community, the rest of your tribe haven't said, oh, effing hell, Jeff's messing with the metal again. Jeff, we need that for making bowls. No, they've not said that. They've not said that. They're pleased with it. The best examples of Bronze Age art appeared in the cradle of civilization around the Mediterranean in the Near East during the rise of Mesopotamia, present-day Iraq. And that's something that I think probably next episode, since we've been going for, how long have we been going for now? Hour and 20 minutes. Feels like 10. Feels like 10 minutes to me. But I've got to get the dog out in a minute because the sun's out. So we've got another sort of 40 minutes of this, and then we'll hit Mesopotamia, won't we? So that's probably good. And the earliest art forms in Mesopotamia, Sumerian art, the Egyptian art. So next episode is these big cultures, isn't it? Mesopotamia, Egyptian. And it also included a range of murals, pottery, and sculpture. We've got Aegean art, which we saw as that mask. Minoan, Mycenaean cultures during this time. Hey! The cat will be bullying him. That's why the dog's barking. I'm just going to click Minoan because I just wanted to... Yeah, these are the... they'd said cradle of civilization. Are they Greek, pre-Greek? I recognise these two, the boxers, I recognise that as pre-Greek Greek boxing, but I don't know exactly where Minoan is. One of the three forms of Aegean art to emerge in the Mediterranean area and the early forerunner of Greek art. Yeah, there we go. See, I do know things. I haven't researched this one before we did it today, but that came out of my old brain. The Minoan art. So the pre-Greeks. What we now know as like Greek. Sorry. Doggy. I'm going to have to rescue him from the cat. Stop bullying the doggy. Come on. Quick, Daddy's talking to his friends on the internet. Come on. Daddy's talking to his friends on the internet. You come in here. Come with Daddy. Come with Daddy. Come here. Come to Daddy. Daddy will show you off to the friends on the internet. Come on. Here we are, friends. Here is my doggy. Here he is. Here he is. This is Marlow. Have a look, eh? There's Marlow. He's a good boy. He's a good boy, isn't he? You say hello? No. Oh, off you go then. There you go. Good boy. And he needs his walkie in a minute, so we'll get on to that in a minute. I've lost my chat room. It works. Milo. Actually, sorry, it's my fault there. It's Marlow. But I pronounce it Milo. Every time I say it to people, they say Milo. And I go, why'd you get that impression? But it's me, isn't it? I'm going Milo because of my voice. It's Marlow. Like that. And he's named after a character in The Wire. As is my cat's called Shakima Greggs. And we've got Omar as well, a cat who came in from the streets. So yeah, chat is working erratically. We were learning about I've lost my place. The Minoans, the Minoans. So this is pre-Greek. That's what I was going to say. We always think of, if you say, go back to the earlier start, you think of your cavemen. And then after that, you start thinking about your classics. You start thinking about your Egypts, your Greece. But before Greece, there were these other cultures surrounding the Mediterranean. They describe it as a cradle of something. Civilization. Cradle of civilization. A lot going on. The ground would have been fertile. The travel would have been easier, especially around the water, providing easier routes of transport of things, and discoveries would have been happening, and culture, and it would have seemed quite forward and progressive at the time. It would have seemed very modern, and this art was cropping up and occurring all over the place and becoming the style and form that we recognise today as classical. There was Assyrian art. Within a few centuries, Greek art proper would appear, along with Etruscan and later Roman art. In several of these regions, the emergence of cities, the use of written language, and the development of more sophisticated stone and metalworking made it possible to increase the type of art and quality of art produced. So the fact that we're all living together, we said this was settling, but now we're building up these bigger communities, these cities, and we've got these other processes going on, the stoneworking, the metalworking. As we said, someone in the tribe, Jill, someone in the tribe, meowing. You can't meow at me. I've still got to get my points out on the internet. Do what? You want to go on the internet, do you? Come on then. Come on, Omar. Come on, Omar. Come on, my son. Come on. He wants to go on the internet. Here he is. There's Omar. The big fatty catty. Hey, she put you on the big face. There's the big fatty catty. This cat, he came to our door. He was skinny. He was shriveled. He hadn't eaten in days, weeks probably, and he had a big bloody mess on his head here. So what I had to do was I had to gain his trust by putting out food, And I used to put it out. I sometimes used to put food in my bedroom, and he'd crawl in my window, and go in my room and eat the food. And then when I go up to my bedroom and say, "Oh, hello," he'd run out the window as fast as possible. And I knew he had this blood on his head, so there was a problem. So one night he came in my window, and I was actually in the room. I managed to close the window quietly and the door, and he stayed in there. He ate his food, and then I kept him in my room all night. He was scared. He didn't like it, but I had to take him to the vet the next day. I had to do it. So I kept him in all night. He did a poo in my room, didn't you, Omar? Dad, I had to clean it up. And then the next day I had to get him in a little cat basket. He didn't like that. But we got him in there, and we took him to the vet. The vet gave him an injection, antibiotics for his head, fixed it up. So his head's all right now. No more cuts and bruises. And we brought him back, and he stayed with us forevermore, didn't you, Omar? He's got no back teeth. His back teeth are missing, so we think he might be an old cat. But he's had a right tough life. And now he lives with us. That's Omar the cat. And this cat, he's such a boss, he bullies the dog. He'll go and buff the dog around. Alright, you big fatty catty, I've got the bum in my face now. I don't want the bum in my face. Watch me tea. That's Omar. How long have we had Omar? Probably 2 years now. It was a really strange and beautiful thing that happened because just before Omar came into our lives, I had a rescue dog called Navin. And Navin, he wasn't named after people on the wire. Navin was a difficult dog. I've described it before. He bit me a load of times. I knew he was difficult. That's why I took him, because other people would not have taken him from the rescue. So I knew I had this difficult dog. I lived with it, went out into the countryside to walk every day, very careful around people. I used to muzzle him. I was a very careful owner. So no one else really got hurt apart from me. But I did get really hurt. I didn't, just because he bit me, I didn't get him put down. I kept him and put up with it. But right at the end of his life, when he was an old dog, he seemed to lose it a little bit, and he did bite me quite severely, and the vet advised me that it was time to let him go. So I did have to take him and have him put down. And it was a real shame because I knew he was old and that he'd lived a good life and all that. And the vet gave me the advice, but it was because he'd done this serious biting problem, and it had become a danger to people around him, other people in our family, that I couldn't allow that. I had to anyway, I had to take him and do this horrible thing. He'd been my good friend for a number of years, for like 15 years. So I did what was best for him in the end. Always did what was best for him. And in the end, what was best for the whole family. And at that time, when I was feeling this sadness, Omar came into our lives. And I remember he was sort of skulking around before Navin left us. And he could never come in the house or anywhere near the house because Navin, the dog, would go mad and bark at him. But as soon as Navin was gone, Omar felt more confident to come in. So it was really nice that I had this new friend to rescue after the experience of the rescue of my old friend. Yeah. So we've had him about 2 years. That's about how long I've been, maybe longer, maybe 3 years. And yeah, it sounds really bad, but Navin had a really good life. He had, I had him when he was a young dog, and he had every day out in the woods walking, every day road walking. He had all the lovely dinners and foods and toys, and he lived to be a right old dog, like old, grey, difficult to walk, really old boy. And then that last summer, he must have just, I think personally, there was something in him, like causing him pain, because I didn't do anything to really set him off as such, but I was able to stroke him and touch him and things, but this last time I touched his tummy and he just went for me. And he got a hold of my arm, and it was like, it was quite scary. I didn't do anything, I never hit him, never acted violently to him. So when this was happening, I just held on to my feelings, like my anxiety. I was strange when, crises are happening, when bad things are really kicking off, I can just go cold and calm. And I was just able to hold. I hurt like Billy-O, like this dog biting my arm, but I was able just to be calm and cold and not look at it. And as soon as he let go, and like, I could feel that he'd stopped, I was able to just take my arm away and move outside, and just calm and quiet. I never shouted at him for it. He never got like the anger and aggression that he'd been shown that had caused him to react like this in the past, whatever problem he'd had. He'd obviously been beaten and kicked. I never showed him any of that. So that's cool. I was hurt. He obviously reacted badly to something in him, some sort of pain. And as the vet said, he's most likely come to the end of his days, and he's found a way of expressing it to you. So, yeah, we did that. We went through that. And then after that, we've got Omar come in, and it was wonderful. And now I've got Marlo, my little doggy, and I've got an easy dog. I've got an easy dog the next time, because I've done my 20 years with the rescue. So this time I didn't go out and buy a dog off the internet. I found somebody who had bred dogs, not because they're a breeder, but because they had a litter and they wanted to keep one for their daughter, but the other dogs needed a home. So it wasn't quite rescuing. I did get a puppy, but I didn't go and buy one off the market. So yeah, that's where we're at. I've got a Heinz 57 mixed breed. He's not a pedigree, and nor was my last one. And yeah, I've just gone on about dogs instead of art. So you've met the dog and the cat now. That's nice, isn't it? That's nice that you've met them. What was I saying? Etruscan, the emergence of cities. That's what we were saying. We were saying that they had these tools, they had these things in society now. They had people pouring metal, they had people making pots. They were starting to diversify into specific jobs, and at some point during this process, some people found an interest, not in the functional, not in the logical, but in the abstract, in the stories, in the creative, and they just went with it and were able to put designs. I mean, maybe there was somebody who made the vases, and maybe there was someone who painted them. Maybe there was someone who did the functional, and maybe there was a friend of theirs who enjoyed the abstract. I don't know, but they were given the free roam. It seems, they weren't. No one said, "Look, these are my pots. Leave them alone. Stop putting your funny doodles on them." They were celebrated and shared, and it was seen to be culturally positive. It seems. Really interesting, isn't it? Because nowadays, graffiti is a good example, I think. You have spaces in society, I feel, that should maybe be more beautiful, are maybe appropriate for art, like huge brick walls or concrete walls. And this is similar. These are functional items, probably quite expensive and valuable functional items, and they see it's important to decorate them. Neolithic art in China was followed by Chai dynasty culture, Shang dynasty art, and Zhao dynasty art, which became famous for their bronzes. So we should do an episode on Chinese early art bronzes. Those three places. We've got Mesopotamia, Egypt, China, still to cover in Bronze Age. The examples of the Bronze Age art within the Mediterranean area include a wide range of painted ceramics, fresco murals. Our first frescoes. Not these frescoes, surely. Frescoes are really interesting because they were painted on, like plaster. Like if you break your arm and you have to plaster cast. So they'd be painted on a wet medium. The plaster itself would dry, and you'd be painting, and not as simple as doing a mural these days with paints on a wall with undercoat. Really interesting. Because of course your surface is, what am I trying to say? Like the same thing as your paint. your paint's water and your surface is water, and they can mix and move, a bit like watercolour. The art term fresco, Italian for fresh, describes the method of painting in which colour pigments are mixed solely with water, no binding agents, there's something I've learned, and then applied directly onto freshly laid lime plaster. Yeah, you see, the surface is plastered wall, the liquid paint is absorbed, and the plaster dries and the pigments are retained in the wall. So that's interesting, isn't it? So that's why they're talking about this now. So we're obviously now, fresco murals are happening because we're starting to use ceramics, we're starting to create plaster, we're starting to put a wet surface of lime across something and let it dry, and then it's solid, and we're decorating that. That's interesting. Landscapes, figurative pictures of humans and animals, religious relief and freestanding sculpture. Is that everything? Is that everything? In art, I'll ask you. I'll ask you in chat. Oh, you haven't been seeing the stuff I've been reading, I've just been reading it. Sorry, I apologise for that. Let's do a chat pop again, because it seems to make it work better if I pop it in and out. Pop out. Let's chat again. Popped in and out. And I'm losing my brain. Saying about frescoes, wasn't I? I was saying something, I was going to show something. This is what I've been talking about. You don't need B&Q. F them off, it's silly art. I was talking about frescoes, wasn't I? All of a sudden. Fresco murals. These, like the painting of the Sistine Chapel. And that was the lime there. So if you want to pause and read that, that's there. Landscapes, wood carving. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. Right, so at the moment we've got carved figures, painted figures, pottery, jewellery, tools that have been adorned. One of them was a brooch or something like that, a fastener, so that's fashion, it's clothing. Have we got everything there? I think we've kind of got everything, haven't we? We haven't got video art, because video didn't exist. We haven't got music and all. We had flutes, so that implies there's music, so there is music. What other forms of artwork? The theatre, we know that came around in Greece, don't we? With our comedies and tragedies, plays. So theatre is coming. We can imagine that there was a oral tradition of telling stories, and telling stories by the campfire would have involved some reenactment. So we've got that. I think at this point, even at this point, unless you can come up with another kind of artwork that I've not, that I'm missing. Please, Bob. Unless there's another kind of artwork that I'm missing, I think we've got all even in this nascent early stages of humanity, as we're laying down the foundations for our first cities, we've already diversified into all of the arts, haven't we? Film is the only thing that we can't, because it doesn't exist. Digital art we can't do because it doesn't exist. But everything else, I mean, visual art, physical art, sculpture, painting, even fresco painting, so different forms of painting, different mediums of painting. We don't have canvases yet. We don't have paper. Papyrus starts in Egypt, so we're about to do that. So we do have that really kind of. We know there's music, like I said. Yeah, I think we've got all of the art by now. That's incredible, isn't it? That's incredible. All the different kinds of sensory experience that can be created through art. Even conceptual. The idea of art just being a transmitter for an idea. Even that is available to them. Wood carving was common. There was paintings of gods, and a range of artistic tributes to kings and secular rulers were also seen. A particularly rare Bronze Age statue is the Palak. They're all rare. I'm telling you. Palakastro a what? A chryselephantine. Chryselephantine. What is chryselephantine? In plastic art, the term chryselephantine derived from the Greek words chrysos, Chrysos, God, and elephantos. Slow down. The Greek words chrysos, gold. I can't say the word gold. Probably gold, and elephantinos, ivory, describes a type of sculpture made from gold and ivory. Gold was for the drapery, ivory was for the flesh. It's a classical Greek sculpture, and their highest form of plastic art. Plastic art? Why plastic? Derived from the word plasticized, meaning to mould, and it describes any form which involves modelling or moulding in 3 dimensions. The most common example of the plastic arts is sculpture. That's my mind blown. Forget about your Nikes. Forget about your Sky TV adverts. Plastic art has been going since pre-Greek culture, and plastic art just means to mould, just means to form it, to shape it, to mould it, from plasticize, which would have been around in Greek times, that word. And it's sculpture. It's any form of sculpture. The most common example is sculpture. They chip, carve, shape, or modulate a range of materials. And another type of plastic art is using clay, ceramic pottery, plastic. Anything that you can form and shape is plastic. Woodworking, that's plastic. Mosaics, they're plastic. Glass art, I love glass art. Can't wait to get up to glass art. I love glass art. And that's plastic. Ice sculpture is plastic, and so is sand art. So now you can really confuse people who won't understand what you're talking about by telling them that it's plastic, and they won't believe you, and it turns out that it is plastic. Wow. So we got those carved from a hippopotamus tooth. Let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at it. Copy. Let's have a look at this plastic art carved from a hippopotamus's tooth. You know what a hippopotamus is, don't you? Oh, okay, well, you don't like it on the old. There it is. Wow! I mean, my mind's blown, my jaw's dropped. That is carved from the tooth of a hippopotamus. It's carved from the hippopotamus. It's carved from the tooth of one of them. That doesn't seem right, does it? Look at it. I mean, it looks so modern. It looks French. It looks Art Deco. It's got modern images of aesthetic beauty, of like slim and upright humanity. This pose of like pride. Thousands of years ago, early plastic art carved from the tooth of a hippopotamus. It's got little gold. It's got little gold bracelets on. There's the addition of the gold. We don't know if the blackened marks are part of the aging, or if it was part of the artistic process itself. I imagine it's been painted. It's been blackened the hair, so that is part of it. I mean, just incredible. Does the tooth go black over time, maybe? Would it have all been bright ivory initially? But wow. That's a lost Minoan god, apparently. The Palekastro. Now we're seeing something new. A Minoan crystalelephantine statuette. Chryselephantine. It's made out of ivory. Chryselephantine. Wow. The Bronze Age. Coming into its own, isn't it, the Bronze Age? Well impressed. We didn't even get up to this one. Did we look? We didn't even get up to this one. We've got more to go. Islau and the Mask, the Ram. Have I lost my... No, this is my page. And with final... This is just the final paragraph now, and then I'll see if we can afford to buy something that's prehistoric, which I don't know if we can, to be honest. Bronze Age art in Europe is exemplified by megalithic art, like engravings and other petroglyphs. That's what I was saying as well. In Europe, we feel... I don't know, I feel that when you talk to me about my Bronze Age art or my Stone Age art, certainly Stone Age, it's these big rock, Stonehenge, it's these things. But we've learned that it's not really about that, is it? It's also about ceramics, fresco. It's about carving wood and that came out of the Stone Age. That's what came on next. And the Bronze Age itself is this explosion of all the arts, of pottery, of ceramics, of abstract, of creative, of gods and men and women and fertility. And as the Bronze Age came to an end, around 11,000 BCE, the history of art reveals a widening cultural gap between northern and Mediterranean Europe. So Europe splits. The north and the Mediterranean have a divide culturally. You've got your northern colder areas, your southern Mediterranean, you've got your Greek and your olives and your, sunshine culture. And then you've got your northern cold animal furs and leading on to the Vikings at some stage. That separation starts to happen. Climate, the presence of minerals and other precious metals, security, social cohesion. Social cohesion glue up your neighbourhood like a poster or a stencil. When you let the kid fight, you see the kid to get mental. The size of the fight inside the dog is incredible. And he's coming for the top dog spot, so better get the treats hot and get the seats hot for King Scott. Beheading all the haters like Joffrey. I'm sweet like the sweet sticky, dark like toffee, so don't test me. Social cohesion and trade were all factors which favoured faster economic development, which in turn led to a faster growth of the arts, especially painting and metalwork, in the regions of the south, and along the principal European waterways like the Rhine and the Danube. So as the Bronze Age comes to an end, we've got these changing cultures, these gaps are starting to emerge between what was a more common humanity spreading out to being a more unique set of pockets of humanity that are settling. This is 1,000 years BC still. The climate, the different minerals, the fact that being together had its benefits, not fighting with each other made life better. That's a real basic one. They had these swords and these armor breastplates. They started to decorate them because they became less functional and more. They had more free time because they weren't doing so much fighting. Simply the concept that you would settle down and stop fighting with each other led to an explosion in artistic development and economic development. We had principal European waterways like the Rhine and the Danube providing a flow, not just of water, but of people, of trade, of ideas. And that is what happened at the end of the Bronze Age. So I will leave these, The Collector, Art in the Bronze Age Explained. We were going to have a look at that. We will have a look at it, but I won't be able to fit it in 10 minutes. And there is one final thing that I wanted to do, and we're going to do big face to do this, because I don't want the internet to show us anything rude by accident. Big face. There's my big face. There's my big face. And I've got this line going over and over in my head now because I just did that bit of rap from my second bar of, it's my second verse of Braves, I think it is. Put up your shields, engage spin deflectors. I can see disguises, hear lies like a detector. I'm smoking, the thing will start beeping. I'm not black, but the feds will still beat me. Like Phil Collins, I got them shaking. I told you I was dark like Vader in the making. Anakin damaging reputation of imperial establishment. Establishing new management, try me, I'm a lyrical man, true Jedi. Green to get high like Ben Kenobi. Like Sio, see I got it wrong. Green to get high like Ben Kenobi. Save me, they cry, I got the flow like Shinobi. Like Sio from the Emerald Isle. A purple haze, call me a voodoo child. No, I'm getting it wrong. That's for another time. But what I wanted to do on the big face was look up prehistoric artifacts. eBay. I want to buy one. eBay. Right. Can we go Stone Age? You can see these things, can't you? And then it won't be rude and we won't get kicked off the internet, web browsing. So this is the internet, and these are prehistoric. Look, there's some Stone Age flint. 50 quid. 60 quid for a flint hand axe. I mean, is it real or is it just a Neolithic, open brackets, Neolithic, Moroccan Neolithic? Maybe we could go to Morocco and find them ourselves. Prehistoric antiquities for sale. eBay. Wow. Look at that, 20 quid. Now, I'm not wasting my money at the moment. I'm saving at the moment. I'm not spending it on anything. Do you know what? I haven't had a can of Coca-Cola for, I was going to say a year, but we did actually. We had some in the, we do click and collect shopping at the moment because we're not going in the supermarket because of COVID. Trying to protect the life of my mom. And, yeah, I think we had Coca-Cola put on the order once this year. I've had can of Coke once this year, but I fancy. I mean, I'm not a promoter of Coca-Cola. I think it's terrible business and all that. But I fancy a nice cold drink, a nice soft drink. But I'm not going in a shop. I'm not going to go in the local one stop just to buy a can of Coke and risk the life of myself, my family, my neighbours. I'm not going to risk everything for a can of Coke. And I'm not prepared to do that. Haven't been all year, so I haven't had a can of Coke all year, and that's fine. That's what I'm saying is I'm going to save the money. Yeah, there's chat just all of a sudden, boom. I'm not. That was my rhyming when I said I'm not black, but the feds will still beat me. But I am sort of black. I'm sort of a 16th or an 8th Indian, I think. So I think I count. I don't like to be white, British on all the forms. I don't like that. I've got mix in me somewhere. We're all part of the same humanity. You know, we're all black, really. Everyone. If you go back far enough, is, aren't they? You know, that's where it came from. So that's where humanity came from, Africa. I hope I haven't said anything that's going to get me kicked off Twitter there. Look, these are real. I mean, as real as you can believe off eBay. What do you think? Do you believe things on eBay? Well, that one's got a letter come with it. Should we believe them on eBay? Could I just get some flint and start shaping my own rocks and selling them? You'll have to tell me in chat what you believe about these things. That's a perfect British Neolithic stone bead. But is it just a bead from today that someone's carved? Viking brooch. Interesting. Red stone scarab beetle. But basically, what is interesting is that for under £25, we can buy a bit of rock, which may or may not be well, I suppose the fact is the rock is old, isn't it? The rock is old. It can't be a new bit of rock. We haven't suddenly produced it in a factory. But is it shaped to be a flint scraper, or has someone just got a new bit of, a bit of rock and just had it with the hammer? I don't know, but it would be interesting, wouldn't it, if we bought a piece of prehistoric art, and then we're able to examine it more closely on stream, because I've got an attachment for the camera that can macro. You can look really close. But at the moment we're saving our money for the computer, so we're not going to splash it out on a bit of stone. But now that I know what I'm looking for, I will endeavour to pick up more rocks from my day-to-day walks. Yorkshire pudding, antique. Someone's selling an old Yorkshire pudding on eBay. They've got 100% positive feedback. Why are they? They've signed up on the 10th of November 2020, so they could put that on there. Should we buy that for £1? No. Here's the answer: no. So we don't want any Yorkshire puddings. We're leaving the Yorkshire puddings. And just interesting, isn't it, that you could potentially buy a Neolithic axe. You just have to trust that's what it is. But now you know what you're looking for. When you look at the stones outside on the ground, maybe now we'll have a different... I'll start picking them up and checking them. Because they could be, couldn't they? They could be. 6% on the battery now, 6%. So I do have to take the dog for a walk. The battery is even telling me. I bet that person who was selling that Yorkshire pudding, I bet the Yorkshire pudding sales, I bet they haven't kept the Yorkshire pudding. I bet they put it on for a joke. And so if you were to buy it, they'd have to cook a new one. Wouldn't be a problem for them though, would it? Because they'd probably be able to do that. 3 Tangled Arrowheads. Look at them. Now they are old, aren't they? I suppose you can still age things by soaking them in acids and alkalines. Current bid is 14 quid. I mean, I don't know what the going rate for an ancient arrowhead should be. Look at that, Neolithic, genuine. They say it's genuine, so you should believe them. But it's only the size of your finger. That's incredible, isn't it? It's so small. I wonder if we could chip our own one viewed per hour. How many have they got? Makes me wonder, doesn't it? That you can buy 1, you can buy 2. So that makes me wonder if they're not just chipping away with their own. Look, they've got 36 of them. This is how I work. This is how I roll. Now what I want to do in my life is become a Neolithic arrowhead creator. I want to go now to the woods, pick up a load of stones and start creating mythic arrowheads. Mythic. Legendary. But maybe that's not the best use of my time. Maybe I'm better off staying on stream with you guys in the long run. You guys and gals. Guys is sexist. That's the patriarchy. I won't say that. I'll try and stop it. You don't need British gas. They can F off. Yeah. So we're not going to buy anything ancient. We're just amazed that you can. Look at these. It's £100. Plastic. We know now that that is plastic, even though it's not. Huh? What a great piece of knowledge to take away from us with us today is that we've learned that plastic art means anything that's moulded. It's not going to be useful to us because when we're talking, people are going to say, no, it's not plastic, it's terracotta. And you're going to say, no, plastic means that it's something that's moulded. And they're going to go, no, it doesn't. It means it's made out of plastic. And you're going to say, what? Plastic has its definition. Plastic has the word plastic in the definition, does it? You can't define things with themselves. And they're going to say, well, no, it means that it's a polymer made of, I don't know exactly how they make plastic. And you're going to say, well, it's bad, isn't it? If you don't even know how it's made and you're asserting to me that this definitely isn't it. And they're going to go, what? You're just being pedantic. And they're going to say, well, look, at the end of the day, I thought it was good that we learned something new, but you're telling me it's bad, so I might just shut up. Yeah, you should shut up. And then they poo-pooed us. And with that, yeah, can I stop being the patriarchy? I have real trouble with the patriarchy because I am part of it, aren't I? You know, I've got a male parts, and I was born into it. It was actually taught to me as a child as a positive. Be a tough man. You have to be the man of the house. Look after your sister. These days, my sister looks after me because it turns out that she's strong, capable. You know, we look after each other. But you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it was taught to me when I was a kid. You know, were you taught somebody about plastic? Yeah, well, you know, we all teach things, don't we? Just we have to be aware of what we're teaching. You know, and spread bad messages around by accident, do you? Especially if you're around children. And when you're all around children, they could be watching this right now. So, you be good, my little puckos. I'm going to take my other little puckos. Just the dog, not the cat. If you took the cat to the woods and let him out, he would hate it. But the dog absolutely loves it. It goes running around with his little legs. So I'm going to go and do that. Now we've got something good to edit. I had real trouble editing the Mental Health Monday this week. Oh, I forgot to do the end of Mental Health Monday. I'll have to come on later tonight and finish that. The big trouble was it's about schizophrenia, and it was done by request because someone in the comments asked about schizophrenia. They suffer from it, and my big worry is that with the we had problems, didn't we, with the connection and all that breaking down of connection, image destabilization. I think if someone's got schizophrenia and they're watching that, it's going to destabilize them. I don't think it's a healthy broadcast in that context. And so I need to upload it because I need to show people on True Binaural that we are uploading Mental Health Monday every week so they can feel confident that it's always there, that I'm regular with that, you know, that I'm committed. I feel it's important that I upload it, but at the same time, I'm worried about uploading it because it's not my finest work. It's not our finest work. It's a big mess visually. I do all the talking, and then we don't even finish it because I got demoralised by the bad connection, and I've still got to talk about the biology and the treatments. And so we'll come back to that maybe tonight because I need to finish that so I can put it in the edit. But you guys know the inside of my brain now, that it's a worry. But I'm not going to worry about it now. I'm going to defer it for worry time, another time. I'm going to go and walk the dog and enjoy it. And thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. You, and I'm talking to you, are my Ganji Puko warrior. And now I'm talking to all of you. You're my Ganji Puko warriors. We together are the Ganji Puko warriors. Ganji is a Korean word that means cool. And Puko is, I was told, a Finnish word. But I didn't know it was a Finnish word. It's my own word for my doggy. Doggy? Are you little pukos? And warriors, because we are the green warrior team. Maybe I should put green in there. I like the green. And we're going to change the world. We're going to make the world better as a group. You know, we're going to create ripples that affect things. It might be small ways. It might be little. Not like Pukati. No, in England there's a word pucker. Pucker means good. It's like a London word. All right, mate, pucker, innit? Wicked, pucker. But I'm pukos. I've changed the A to an O. Puko. Pukos. Pukos chonos. Chonos is also... you don't say normal words to your dog, do you? You say weird words like, Pukos is a little pukochona. So that's where it comes from. My little pukos chonos. And we're going to create these ripples, and they might not be big, but they will ripple, and we will start making some differences. And our first, the first core of this is Mental Health Monday, somewhere together that we can share support and show the world that we are taking these things on, that we are not going to be bowed by them, that they're going to be burdens to us that we can carry, and in carrying them, we're going to become stronger. That's Mental Health Monday. We've also got this art history, which is this beautiful exploration, this learning, something new, something interesting. It's about humanity, and it's about the truth and the passion that's within us all. It's something we've learned. It's come from the earliest history, and we're going to see it ripple out into ongoing culture through our study and learning, but also what we're doing is part of that. And so we are part of the ripple now. We're part of the wave. A ripple is going to become a wave. And then we're going to be surfing. So you be good, my little puckos. Get your swimming trunks ready. Get your Bermuda shorts. We're going surfing.